I'm feeling very rocker chick right now with the kind of floofy hair and the black t-shirt and smoky look. Hello friends, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be doing a palette review of the Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Thunder. This palette I received in my BoxyCharm, I want to say 2 months ago, so that would have been October's. And I have been playing around with this for a while actually, formulated quite a few opinions, just hadn't had a chance yet to sit down and do a review of it, but I wanted to do that today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this palette, what it is, I'm going to show you some swatches, I'm going to show you me applying the look I have on today, and then I'll give you all my thoughts on it at the end, and not only about this palette, but if I assume the formula holds true to other Dominique Cosmetics palettes, hopefully this will give you an idea of, even if these shades aren't necessarily for you, if it's the kind of formula you want in the other palettes. So let's start talking about it. I've mentioned before that I will often use a product for a while before I actually go and look at the description of it online, especially if it's something like an eyeshadow palette where it's not like I need special directions for it, because I feel that way the price of the palette, you know, how it's described doesn't cloud my feelings of it. So I was a little surprised when I went and onto Sephora's website in Canada and saw that the Celestial Storm palette was $58. And then I started looking a little closer and realized that the version that we got in BoxyCharm is not the full version of the palette. So we got 8 shades here, but the actual palette is a 12 shade palette. So if you look at it that way, I guess it's like $5 per pan Canadian. And if you're going to use all the colors, I mean, it's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive, I guess, either. It's a little bit more expensive than I was expecting it to be. This is the second product I've tried from Dominique Cosmetics. The first one I never did a review on, but I have the Lemonade gloss, which I really enjoy. It's a lovely little gloss. But this I've been playing around with for a while, and so let me tell you how this is described. The full palette is described as a 12 shade palette that ranges from vibrant pops of color to everyday tones. It's free of sulfates, parabens, formaldehydes, formaldehyde releasing agents, phthalates, mineral oil, retinol palmate, oxybenzone, coal tar, hydroquinone, triclosan, triclocarbon, and contains less than 1% of synthetic fragrances, which is not actually something I usually worry about in eyeshadow products. This product is also cruelty-free. So interestingly, they say all of that, but they also outline that some of these are not eyeshadows, they are they pressed pigments, which is usually what they say when something is not necessarily deemed as being eye safe here in North America. And usually that just means that there may be staining left behind from the pigments, but you can choose to decide whether or not pressed pigments that are not eye safe are something you don't want to use, because from what I understand in other places in the world, like in Europe, that what we deem not eye safe here is fine there. So do a little bit more research into it if it's something that has concerned you, but as far as I understand, usually that's because of the deep reds or deep pinks may cause staining on your skin. They say that Celestial Storm is an explosion of vivid pigments, shadows, and glittery foils with 12 uniquely formulated shades for a creative, colorful eye look or simple pop of electric color. These vibrantly made shades tell a cosmic story and bring the universe to life, includes a variety of mattes, foils, duochromes, and toppers. In the mini version of the palette that we got, only this one right here, Lucid Dream, is considered to be a pressed pigment. I feel like there's not that much more to say about an eyeshadow palette, so let me show you some swatches. So on our swatches, we have Eternal Light, which is a very glittery champagne topper. Fireball, which is kind of a duochrome orange with a little bit of pink to it. Black Matter, which is a black with a purple shimmer. Zero Gravity, which is a matte gray. Lucid Dream, which is a matte hot pink. Storm Dust, which is a matte brown that pulls a little orange. Lunar Eclipse, which is a matte orange. And then Mystic Ice, which is a matte teal. Let's do an eye look. I'll zoom you in so you can see what I'm doing a little closer. In addition to using the palette, I'm also going to be using these Moda Studio brushes by Royal & Langnickel, which I have not used yet. Seem to have a good little selection here, so I thought I would use them with this palette. If you are somebody who likes to do a neutral look or a neutral crease or anything like that, you're just kind of not going to get it with this. The most neutral kind of shade you can do is this orange, and even that, it pulls very orange. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of a monochromatic look today because I've done this before with this palette and I really like it. Although then I'm going to pull in one of these fun colors for a liner. But basically, just to give you an idea of what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this matte gray shade called Zero Gravity, which I really kind of love. I don't feel like we are given very many gray products. I'm then going to use Black Matter, which is this sort of satin purpley black, and then Eternal Light, which is this shade right here, to sort of do towards the inside of my eye. And then I'll use, I don't know, either the teal or the pink, I think, to do like a really colorful liner. So that's the plan. So yeah, I'm gonna start going into Zero Gravity and use that almost as like my crease shade. It is, I will say, like pretty dusty. That stuff doesn't bother me though. I have already primed my lid and then powdered on top of it, so it shouldn't be super grippy, but there should be something there to blend into. And I always try to start off like pretty light-handed so that I can build up instead of having to try to take away. I do find these are very pigmented shades. Like, you need to use a light touch so that you don't get too much, which is kind of nice as compared to like having to build and build and build. And I don't find that they get patchy, which is quite nice. So there we go. I've given myself a little bit of depth with Zero Gravity, and I'll do the same on the other side. I find this gray on me, like, I really like the cool toneness and that this is like very neutral looking on me. I wouldn't have expected a gray to look so neutral, but I just love the shadows that it creates. I'm going to go into Black Matter there with a flatter brush. I think this one maybe has a little bit of fallout, so I'm just going to try to be a little careful with it. The ones that are the satin shades and not the mattes don't seem to have the dustiness or the kickback in the same way. And interestingly, I find this shade for me, as somebody who tends to shy away from using like black in eyeshadow looks just because I feel like it is so harsh, this gives me that depth that I'm looking for, and I've really enjoyed playing around with this shade. So now that I've laid the color down, I'm going to blend around the edges. And what I'm really going to try to do is blend and pull it inwards so that I'm not sort of creating anything going out this way or blowing it out too much. And I'm going to use a smaller brush to do a little bit of sort of targeted blending. Oh, this one's actually pretty stiff. Okay, so I'm going to use the larger fluffy brush that I started with. And when you use shades like this, I mean, depending on how the shadow performs, you may find, like I do, that once you're done blending, like I'll need to go back in and pack that shadow on again. That one actually did get a little bit patchy, although that hasn't, interestingly, been my experience before. This time it seemed to really blend away. There we go. I've built up some of that smokiness, and it very much looks like I've been working in blacks, but it pulls a little bit more blue and purple. I really feel like this set could have come with a smaller fluffy brush to do some more like targeted blending. There we go. I'm liking it so far. And now I'm going to use this Eternal Light shade, which I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with because I think it is gorgeous, like so gorgeous. It's satin with a bit of like glitter in there, not glitter, but micro shimmer, and it's such a beautiful like light champagne color, but you get crazy micro shimmer fallout with this shade. Now granted, I haven't tried using it with a glitter glue or anything like that, but in terms of my use of it, like I do think it is just a gorgeous, gorgeous shade there. I will apply it with my finger to give like really good intensity, and I might actually try going in with a brush and some spray. But I think it is like such a gorgeous shade, but get ready to have it all under your eyes through the day. But like, it's beautiful. You could just use it as like a party shade where you don't mind having some micro shimmer on the rest of your face. You know, it's not a going to work shade, it's a going out and partying shade. Oh, but it's so gorgeous. I'm gonna have to blend a little bit more dark over top of that. So I went a little crazy with it. Like, that is so nice and so monochromatic. Like, it just, to me, if you had like a little black dress on and you put on some nice, like either a bright red lip or like a glossy lip with this, you know, this would look very sophisticated, like a New Year's kind of look. I just think it's really pretty. I'm going to do a little bit of lower lash line blending. And every time I do that, I do this face. I try not to, but I do. Oh, and I just went to brush something off and I have so much glitter. And I just did my lower lash line there with a little bit of Zero Gravity, although there was a little bit of black matter still left on the brush. But now, because I want to show you how some of those really fun shades perform, I think I'm going to use Mystic Ice, which is that teal there, to do a little bit of liner just for a pop of color. And I'm just doing that on a very tiny pencil brush. Oh, I'm getting so much fallout. Okay, now I'm green under there. I will say I didn't do the trick that I normally do, which is to extra powder under my eyes. Possibly using this palette, you'd want to do your eye look first. And then do your foundation and powder. So, ignoring the fallout, I hope you can see how bright that teal goes on. So I need to fix this up. I'm going to go do that, do a little bit of a glossy lip with this, and then be back to show you the final look. And there we go. The final look, very sparkly, very monochromatic with a punch of color. And pretty smoky and enjoyable. So overall, I enjoy this palette. If you are looking for something that can be like a go-between with everyday and pops of color, no, there's not a lot of everyday in here, because there isn't. Everything in here is like a pop of color. I personally find that I enjoy the way this performs. I've seen other reviews online that don't seem to like this so much, but I find that the mattes, yes, there is fallout, so you do need to like either prepare for that or do your eye look before the rest of your makeup. But for the mattes, they are pigmented, they go on well, you know, even those colors that often have a hard time being bright, like the pink and the teal, work really well. And I like the gray in here. I like that these colors are unique, and it's something that I don't necessarily have in all of my other palettes. I will say that the glitter fallout is just, it's too bad because I like that Eternal Light shade and that it's a topper and I think it's really pretty, but you have to be okay with the glitter fallout. So as I said, for me that means it's not something that I can wear like every day to work, because maybe if it did stay in place, using a little bit of it would just add something a little nice, but because you end up with glitter all over the place, it's not really so much made for the office. If you don't mind a little bit of glitter fallout, then it's good. I do really like the way the black matter sort of becomes this smoky look on me that is like using a black but without being too harsh. I really like Zero Gravity, that gray shade, and I find that the hot pink and the teal perform quite well. Fireball I haven't played around with as much. That's the sort of duochrome orange to pink, because to me, when it actually goes on my skin, it looks quite copper, and I find I have a lot of colors that do that. So overall, I like the formulas in these. You do have to play around with them a little bit. They're not as perfect as some others, but if you see some Dominique Cosmetics palettes where you really like the color story in it, you like what's there, I wouldn't be afraid to try it. Just know that if you are somebody who tends to maybe do your foundation and powder before you do your eye look, that you may want to switch it around a little bit. You may need to play with it a little bit, but these colors do end up working. They do last all day. They look really nice. And it's not my favorite formula, but I enjoy it. And I've really enjoyed playing with it. And I've used it for a number of looks and kind of enjoyed everything that I've come up with. So it isn't like an unqualified, this is my favorite palette ever, go out and buy it. But if the colors speak to you, I wouldn't be afraid to try it. It's a lot of fun. So that is my review of this product. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear what your experience has been with Dominique Cosmetics, just because I haven't heard a huge amount about them out there. Leave all of that in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.